So slope-intercept form, when it asks you to write something in slope-intercept form, it is referring to y equals mx plus b. Okay? Now, we have been talking about slope. What is slope also known as?
Rise and run.
Okay, rise over run. What is slope also known as? Your constant. Remember our constant rate of change, right? Okay, so rise over run is how you saw it for the first time a few days ago. Constant we've been dealing with off and on for a while now. Okay, it's all the same thing. This is just putting it in an equation. All right, so when you see this formula, y equals mx plus b, our m is our slope. Okay, it says b is my y-intercept. This part right here, the starting point, super, super, super important. But, so in your equation, b is your y-intercept. All right, so if I had the equation y equals 5x plus 8, and it asked me, what is the slope? What would my slope be? 5. That's my slope. If it asked me what my y-intercept would be, what would I say? 8. That's all, like, that's the first half of what we're doing today is just being able to identify what my slope and y-intercept is. Yes?
So, like, on example 1, we literally just have to write -3 slope. 9.
So I'm going to put slope and y-intercept. Okay, so on number 1, what is my slope? -3. Why am I not putting the x with it? Do you know? No, because that is a variable. It's going to vary. Is a variable constant? No.
Wait, so the y-intercept is 9?
Yep.
Okay, so it's always on the outside of the plus sign.
Not necessarily. The y-intercept never has the x next to it. It is your whole number. Y'all remember when we talked about if tables, relationships, pairs were proportional or not? Okay. I said if for it to be proportional, it couldn't have, I'm going to see if y'all remember this, it couldn't have what? Okay, when we were trying to determine if a relationship was proportional or not. Okay, it had to start at 0, 0. So if it started with 0, 0, it was proportional. But y'all remember a while back we talked about if it had that one-time fee with it? Do y'all remember that? Remember it was those tables and it had scenarios and it was like, okay, he charged $30 per hour and a $50 service fee. Y'all remember? And it was like if it had that one-time fee, it was never proportional, right? Okay, so this goes with that same saying. If I have a y-intercept is always my one-time fee. So if it ever asked if it was proportional, if I have a y-intercept, it's not proportional because I have a starting fee. I have a starting point. So if I saw an equation of y equals 5x, it didn't have a y-intercept, that means it is proportional. It starts at 0, 0. Okay? So that's what this is kind of saying right here. It is proportional only if there is 0 and it starts at the origin. So y has to be 0 for it to be proportional. Okay, so number 2, what is my slope? 1/3. Now remember, the other day, on Monday, when y'all did slope, I said to always keep it in what form? Fraction, because fractions represent rise over run. So right here, what would be my rise? What would be my run? 3. Okay, remember also what I said about if it's a whole number, how do you turn a whole number into a fraction? Well, guys, if I had a whole number and said make this a fraction, what would you do? Put a 1 under it. Okay? So if it told me to graph, which we're going to see in a minute, I could graph that easily because I know I can rise 1, go over 3, right? But if I ever had to turn this into a fraction, all I do is put a 1 under it. Okay? All right.
The second number has a fraction.
It doesn't most of the time. Okay? All right, number 3. Hi, friend. Okay. What? Oh, I did forget the y. Good job, Xavier. What is my y? 7. All right. What about here?
The slope is 1/6 and the y.
Negative 20.
Negative. That's just fun.
Oh, it'll be minus 20. It'll be just 20.
Negative 20.
Net half.
Okay, because if that's my starting point, I would need to start at negative 20. Okay, if it was a 1/6 x plus 20, I would start where? At a positive 20. So you have to pay attention to what symbol is in front of that second number. Okay. All right, what about this one? What's my slope? What's my y-intercept? Okay, we're going to skip 5 for just a second.
Do we do 6?
Okay, what is my slope on number 6?
Negative 3/4.
Negative 3/4 x. Is that did I have one left?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, not x. Sorry, guys. Y-intercept is what? 3. Okay, so this one. If y'all had 5 plus x equals 10, what would you do to solve that? Subtract. I subtract because isn't my goal to get the x on one side of the equal sign by itself? So I subtract 5 and I subtract 5. Okay? So here we're not solving for x, but we're still keeping that same mind frame. Because do I have y equals right here? No. Do I need to make it y equals? Okay. How could I get this 4 on this side of the equal sign? What is the opposite operation for adding 4? Subtracting 4. In just a minute. Okay. So now is it y equals negative 11 minus 4x? All I did was have to use the opposite operation to get it over there. Now can I identify what my slope is and what my y-intercept is? Yes.
Couldn't you just switch them if you saw a problem like this?
I would do it this way to be extra careful. Okay? All right, slope is what?
Negative 1.
No. Negative 4. Slope is always has what behind it? The x.
Oh.
So you got to be careful. Okay, so my y-intercept would be what? Negative 11. Okay. So. There is one. All right. I'm going to give you a second on your homework. Those first 6 problems, I'm going to let you work them, okay? Went ahead and passed out their homework because it's so easy and I was trying to let them get it done. Yes, ma'am.
On number 4, what if there is not a negative number?
So what did I say?
Oh, put a 1 there?
Okay, you're asking about the y-intercept?
Yes.
If it doesn't have a y-intercept, it doesn't have a y-intercept. Remember, because that tells us it's what? Proportional. So it is okay to not have one. You don't?
I mean, I do learn that. I just need to get the hang of it.
It's just, so today it's just straightforward. It's knowing how to what means what. Yeah. Tomorrow, just a second, is when they will see.
Will you always have a slope?
They have to write the equation. Most of the time, yes. Yes, slope is always there. Now, there are graphs that don't have to have a slope, but anyways. Yes, Trey, what was your question?
On number 3, would we change 9x to fraction 2?
Okay, you're not, on these, did we change anything to a fraction? No. I was just saying, in the future, if you have to graph, you would put a 1 under it. Okay? So we didn't do any changing into fractions.
How come in number 4 it doesn't have a intercepted deal?
Okay, I just answered that question. It's okay for it to not have one. Remember, that tells us it's proportional. Okay. No, you don't even have to. You can just identify your slope. And if you want to put y-intercept, you wouldn't put 0, you would put none. Give me a thumbs up when y'all got those first 6 on your homework done.
What time is it?
3
o'clock.
Guys, what did I say about being kind? I know, but let's not just respond
It's about like 9:50.
like that.
9:57. 9:57.
It is almost 10 o'clock.
Yeah, sure, go back.
Will, stop pulling on that stuff over there, please. Connor, that was unnecessary.
That was me.
3 nights.
Connor. You're stuck on which one? Okay.
On number 6, would it be negative?
Yes.
That's easy. I just gotta always try something organized like this.
Miss Scruggs, is it the 1st of December?
Yeah.
We need to update the calendar.
Only
Okay.
21 more days till my birthday. Miss Scruggs, can I update the calendar real quick?
Right now. No, that's not a quick task.
Dang it.
So not right now. Okay. Now let's look at the next part of our notes. Shh. If I'm talking, you're not. All right. So it says Bethany needs to hire a taxi service to take her to the bus station. The table shows a one-time fee and a per mile rate. Now, one time means what? Will, stop messing with it, please. Okay. One-time fee is the y-intercept all the time. Okay. Now, there are a few words, and I'm still talking about this with 8th grade, guys. There are words that tell us what go with our x. What is our slope? Okay. If we see the words per or each, those always tell us that is what is going with x. Okay. So the per mile, that is going to be our slope, where this is our y.
Do you say per or each?
Uh-huh. Because that tells us we multiply. So it's always multiplying by x. All right. So write an equation. When it wants us to write an equation, we're talking about slope-intercept form. Our equation is going to be y equals mx plus b. So it wants us to write an equation for the total cost of miles traveled with each company. So I have Cassie's Cabs and King of Cabs. All right, so Cassie's Cabs charge a $3 fee and a $2.60 rate per mile. Anybody think they know how to set that equation up into slope formula? I didn't say you know for a fact and you're 100% confident, but just somebody take a shot at it. Hartley, your hand, I saw it first, and now you're second guessing yourself. What you think? So Cassie's Cab is, so we know it's going to start with y equals, right? So what is my slope?
No, it's 2.
Uh-huh. So 2.60 x plus 3. Good. See? You knew it. Y'all gotta be confident in yourselves. All right. So King of Cab, what would my equation be? Uh-huh. 135 what? X. All right. Plus 550. Now, do I need my decimals behind that? That 0? Do I need that 0 behind the decimal?
No.
No, but if I leave it, does it hurt anything? If I take it away, does it hurt anything?
No.
No, so it's okay either way. Okay, so this is the part that I was telling you might cause a little bit of confusion because the graph is not great, the numbers are not great. So I might change what our slope is just to show you how you would graph this. Okay, but our y-intercept is always known as our what? Starting point. So if I have a y-intercept and I'm trying to graph it, that is where I would start. But if it's a y-intercept, it starts on the y. Y'all are used to going which direction first? We're going on our x. That's what you're used to doing first. But here it tells us it's starting at 3. So it would start about here. Y'all agree? Okay. Now, this is the part where I said if it's not a fraction, you would turn it into a fraction because it would help you. So I would do 2.6 over 1 because I would rise over run. We're going to act like... It's just hard because this graph is so bad. So 2.6, we're going to kind of round that up to 3-ish. So if it was 3 over 1, that means I start here and then I go up 3. So that would be about here and then over 1. Okay, so then I just keep doing that. Once I use my y-intercept to start, I don't use it again. Okay, so then I keep following that up 3. So if this was here, okay, so this was, we started at 3, so it went to about 6. So it would go to 9, so up 3 over 1. 9 plus 3 would be 12 over 1. You see how this graph isn't great just because the numbers aren't pretty? But this is telling you how to graph it, how much you keep going up and over. And that gets you your line.
It's linear though.
Yes, it is. Good observation, Cooper. All right. So then if I graph this other one, 135 and 550. So we start at 550. So 5.5. There was a huge debate about this last period because people weren't paying attention to how this was labeled. So here is 5. Where would 5.5 be?
Right in the middle.
No. It would be in the middle if this was 6 because 5.5 would be halfway between 5 and 6.
It'll be barely above the line.
Barely above that line. Good, Trey. Because this is 10, not 6. So 5.5 would be halfway between 5 and 6. But is 5.5 halfway between 5 and 10? No, 7 is about-ish halfway. So this would be my starting point. 1.3. We'll just round that to 1 and see what happens. So if my slope was 1x, I would just do 1 over 1. Okay? So I'd go over 1, or up 1, over 1. Up 1, over 1. Up 1 over 1. So it's just going like this. And this graphing part does get a little bit, but the more you do it with nicer graphs and nicer numbers, it's not that bad. Right, Ms. Aguilar?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Now, what do you notice about the two graphs? What happened at 2? They intersect. So this next question that says, for how many miles is the cost of both taxi companies the same? Wherever they intersect is where they're the same.
About like
So
not 82.
for how many miles? Well, it was 2 miles. They would cost the same amount. So 2 miles. No, because we're talking about distance. They would, because we have a mile rate, a rate per mile. So the point, it would, she could travel 2 miles with both companies and pay the same price. Okay. If Bethany needs to travel 7 miles, which company will cost her less? Justify your response. I had a couple people last class period that were like, oh, you just do this. Does anybody know what I would do to figure that out? What I would do with that 7.
Multiply it by 2.
No.
Would you multiply the y-intercept in the
I feel like you were really close. Yes, you are plugging this in for x into your equations. Okay, so for Cassie's cab, I have 2.6. Okay, my x is 7 miles because that x is representing how many miles? So 7 miles plus 3. King of cabs is 135 times 7 plus 5.5. Okay. It wants to know which one will cost her less. So do I need to solve these and figure out which one costs the least amount? Okay, I'm going to give you a minute. I want you to do that on your own real quick.
Cuando les den problemas donde hay muchas palabras, no está tan fácil como esto, entonces nada más cambia las voces porque están solas. Estas son cosas que nos van a
Miss Scroggs, where did you go?
She'll be right back. She went to take something to the Siempre
Yeah,
que
she
vean
ran away
en
from
un
you.
problema,
Anyone and anything will run away from
go before she comes back. Cuando vean que está esa palabra
you. You have makeup? Oh.
y es igual,
Jeez,
that's
people
big.
when it's Casey.
entonces es la única
Ah.
manera que les puedo ayudar para que lo entiendan.
No, did you see it? Kids who did
Entonces,
like,
por
I know
ejemplo,
they were like,
¿dónde me pondrían este número de arriba? 3, ¿en la S o en la Y? En la S.
they're like, what happened?
Y se acabó el
Oh,
tiempo.
sí, sí.
There was a one
Siempre
today.
que ven una
There's one today
palabra
over there.
es
not bad.
buena.
Forward,
Eso
you know what?
significa que se va a
Go through there.
Es como el ejemplo de Elías. Por ejemplo, este lo dice.
Yeah, it is.
Contrataron un taxi para que llevara a una persona a los camiones. Y
Hey,
las
monkey.
cosas a fuercitas. Una compañía de taxis te va a cobrar $3 y la otra te va a cobrar
There's
$2.
only one egg right there.
Pero aparte de los $3 te va a cobrar $2.60
Not even an egg.
cada milla que vas. Entonces,
Some
si crees
plain
que
egg.
ya te van a cobrar $10. Pero si vas una milla,
That was so unnecessary.
You're tough and she's at the exact same time.
ahora como ella estaba tomando 110,
Sometimes I think Will's just unnecessary.
y luego la otra
Sounds
va a
like
cobrar al principio así nada más, nomás por recoger. Después de cobrar 5
Have you ever tried to sneeze so quietly?
That's eggy.
But it
I
doesn't.
remember one time I solved it.
Yeah.
I think spelled it ABC wrong first.
Okay. I know this is in the restroom.
Oh, Miss Scroggs sneezed so hard it solved it.
Trey, you'll talk about that later. Let me go over it first, and then I'll let you go. We're still gonna go over it real quick. Okay, so 2.6 times 7. What is 6 times 7?
42.
6 times 7 is 42.
7 times 2, 14 plus 4. Okay, I had how many decimal places? 1. So 28.2 plus, ooh, I was almost going to do that wrong, plus 3. 25.2. Is that what y'all got?
Yes.
Wait, why was
18.2.
Oh, that is 11. Gosh.
I got 20.
Yeah.
I got 21.
That's what I got.
It is. It is. It
I got
is.
21.2. I got 21 and 20.
That's 18. Good grief. Yeah, y'all were right. Sorry, guys.
Okay, that's
Whew. Yeah, sorry. I'm tired. I'm sorry. All right.
Okay. We forgive you.
Okay. 135 times 7. Let's see if Miss Groggs makes a mistake right here. 5 times 7 is 35. 7 times 3, 21 plus 3, 24. 7 times 1 is 7 plus 2 is 9. Okay. How many decimal places?
$5.50
Okay, so
$9.95. That's
14.95 cents.
$14.95.
okay. So which one is obviously very less?
King's Cab.
Okay, so King's Cab is less.
Thomas Scruggs.
Yes.
For the table? Are you correct now?
Yes.
Is the second number always the X?
For which? What do you mean?
Like, for the homework? It says doors in color 40 and 50 with 50 people want the X.
Okay, well, look at the labeling. Which one is a one-time fee or a one-time charge? And which, does one say each or per?
Yeah, I'm confused on that.
I bet it does. Look at the word problem.
Oh.
Okay, so if it says the charge and hourly labor fees for 2 repairs, okay? So my service charge, are they going to charge me that per hour? No, so that's my one-time fee, which means it's what?
The Y.
The Y. So this is my Y. My hourly, does that get charged per hour? Yes, so that is my slope. You see how this is important to read? Yes.
What about, I'm confused how we would graph those.
I know, because this graph is not nice. Okay, how about y'all write the equations real quick? I'll come by and check, and then I'll do the graph part with you. Okay. Is that what you needed, Xavier?
Yeah, I don't get how would you.
I know, because these graphs are not nice.
Once you're putting out the graphs on there.
So
I'm like, I have some.
I know.
Man, what have you been doing?
I